Hey, what's going on, everybody? Leigh Dickey here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Yo Nostalgia. Today, this week, I want to perhaps take a look at two of the most popular characters in pop culture TV history, and that is Norman Fell's Stanley Roper and Don Knotts' Ralph Furley from Three's Company. Let's compare and contrast the two, see what I like and what I don't like, and I'll tell you, in my opinion, who I think is the better actor, better character, and who I liked more and made me laugh more right here this week today on Yo Nostalgia. But before we get to the main event, before we get into this compare and contrast of Stanley Roper and Ralph Furley, Don Knotts, and Norman Fell, respectively, I want to tell you where you can find Yo Nostalgia. Of course, new episodes of Yo Nostalgia are released every other Tuesday on my official website, LeighTDickey.com, YouTube under Leigh Dickey TV, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever podcasts are available. Of course, this is a web show and a podcast, so you get a video form and an audio form. So please do comment, like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts on LeighTDickey.com, my official website, and YouTube under Leigh Dickey TV. Of course, all the links and everything you need to know about me, Leigh Dickey, and Yo Nostalgia are listed and linked in the description and show notes down below. Follow along on social media at Yo Nostalgia Show. Send your comments, questions, topic requests, and anything else to yonostalgiashow@gmail.com. If you have suggestions, reach out on social media, again, at Yo Nostalgia Show, or send an email to yonostalgiashow@gmail.com. All the information is in the show notes and description down below. All right, now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, let's get into this compare and contrast of Don Knotts' Ralph Furley and Norman Fell's Stanley Roper from Three's Company. Who's the better actor? Who's the better character? Who I liked more? What I liked about one? What I liked about the other? And let's meet somewhere in the middle, right here, right now, on a brand new episode of Yo Nostalgia. Alright, so Ralph Furley, Don Knotts, Norman Fell, Stanley Roper. Who's the better actor? Who's the better character? Which one made me laugh more? Did I like one over the other? Who did I like over the other? What did I like about both characters, both actors, if anything at all? Let's get into it right now. When I first sort of encountered or came across Three's Company, it was just a few years ago. I mean, I understand that it is super popular. First went on the air in early 1977 and lasted 8 seasons, I think it was, and was off the air in the spring of 1984. So, I mean, it is a long-running franchise. It's well-loved. You've got John Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, Suzanne Summers, Norman Fell, Audra Lindley, Priscilla Barnes, Jenny Lee Harrison, Richard Klein, Don Knotts, of course, and I'm sure there are a slew of other characters that I am missing, but you get the idea. It is this massive sort of thing, this massive piece of pop culture history, because it is and was a super popular show. I first came across the show probably just 2 or 3 years ago, because I don't know if and when it was syndicated here. I live in Canada, and I'm not sure when or how or if it was syndicated in Canada when I was growing up, because I don't remember seeing like a full episode until I was like in my late 20s. This is just like 2-3 years ago. And it just, I was flipping channels one day and they were rerunning it in syndication on CMT Canada up here, and there was something about it that caught my eye. I don't know what. It was probably like, I guarantee you, it was like a Jack Tripper, Stanley Roper, so John Ritter and Norman Fell exchange. I can't remember exactly what it was that made me go, oh, this is funny. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy this. And, to be fair, the first episode of Three's Company that I did see in completely as a full episode, a full 22-minute episode was, I think it's season 2 episode, it's somewhere between 11, 12, and 13. It's called Roper's Car, and it's where, Norman Fell's character Stanley Roper tries to sell, John Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, and Suzanne Summers, their characters, Jack Tripper, Chrissy Snow, and Janet, his old car, probably for a lot more money than it's worth. But there's something about that episode that made me want to stick around and see more. And there was something about those early episodes that I just really, really enjoyed. In my opinion, and for what I like and my taste, Stanley Roper, Norman Fell, his sense of acting and his sense of humor and the way he delivered things and the writing for his character, that spoke to me more. Now, I understand that Suzanne Summers as Chrissy Snow played the dumb blonde, and, she wasn't necessarily the brightest bulb in the box or the sharpest knife in the drawer, but she delivered laughs for the time, and it's still funny to this day because it's still popular to this day because it's still rerun. It's still syndicated to this day. So, they hit a home run with the show, with the characters, and to be honest, to me, Stanley Roper is the better character just because he spoke to me more. So, for me, that was Norman Fell. So Norman Fell, better actor, because his acting spoke to me more. His performance spoke to me more. The way he would just, and I'm not saying do this, but, don't cut down your wives or your partners or your significant others, ever. Okay, always encourage them. But the way he would cut down Audra Lindley, it just, and then, look at the camera, just come right back and look at the hard camera and look right into that lens, have this, poop-eating grin on his face. It was so funny to me, because as an adult, you understand the things more that you didn't understand as a kid. And to be fair, if I had seen Three's Company as a kid, I probably wouldn't have understood as much of it then as I do now as an adult, having gone through a little bit more of life. And I gravitated towards that sense of humor. I still gravitate towards that sense of humor and that acting style and, those types of characters. I want something that's, it's there, it kind of hits you in the face, but it's sort of, subtle, under the radar, and then, you break that fourth wall by looking at the camera and then just staring down that lens and, giving the audience that grin and just having them take that ride with you. Okay, so to me, I'm more of a Stanley Roper fan. I'm more of a Norman Fell fan. And to be quite honest with you, I think that Three's Company is the only thing that I've seen Norman Fell in. And I know that both Norman Fell, Audra Lindley, and, Don Knotts are legendary when it comes to what they've done or what they did in acting. And, all props to them. And, of course, everybody else on the cast and crew of Three's Company. Richard Klein, Joyce DeWitt, Suzanne Summers, John Ritter, Priscilla Barnes, Jenny Lee Harrison. But, and I think I've said this before, but once Suzanne Summers kind of left the show, it just kind of, it lost a lot of momentum. Even though it was on the air for, I think, another three seasons, yeah. So, they tried, and it was still popular enough for it to last another 3 years. But, in terms of, the landlord presence on that show, it was all Stanley Roper for me. It was all sort of Norman Fell. Don Knotts, I know that once he came in, once the Ropers got their own sitcom, and from what I have heard and seen and read, that the idea was that if the Ropers sitcom, which in itself is an adaptation of George and Mildred from the UK, if the Ropers sitcom, which also starred Jeffrey Tambor, didn't last more than one season, or it was canceled rather quickly, then Norman Fell as Stanley Roper could come back. Now, yes, Audra Lindley and Norman Fell made guest appearances back on Three's Company after Don Knotts came in, but it just wasn't the same, you know? Like, it's not that, I understand that Chrissy Snow, that was like the dumb blonde played by Suzanne Summers. Just, I mean, like, the ditzy character has never really kind of gone, oh, I like that. I've never really connected with the ditzy character. I don't, ditzy to me, it drives me nuts. Personally, and if you're trying to entertain me with it, it's not going to make me laugh. I'm just kind of like, okay, I don't get it. You know, it's just not going to make me laugh. And I think Don Knotts has said that once Suzanne Summers left the show, I think at the very beginning of season 5, or very early on in season 5, that they gave a lot of her material to Don Knotts and the Ralph Furley character. And I just, to be honest, there were moments where I got a chuckle out of the Ralph Furley character. I remember when one specific episode where I think Ralph Furley was kind of fixing the sink in the apartment that John Ritter's character, Joyce DeWitt's character, and I think it was Priscilla Barnes at this point, he was fixing the sink, and so you had Janet and I forget Priscilla Barnes' character's name. I honestly, off the top of my head, I can't remember it. But it was Priscilla Barnes and Joyce DeWitt. They were sitting at a table, and Don Knotts' character, Ralph Furley, is fixing the sink. And they're having a private conversation. Ralph Furley overhears this. Don Knotts comes right over and just says, "Hey, let me join you," and just sits down. Like, he's got the chair turned backwards. He's got a grin on his face. He's leaned over the chair, and he's like all intent on hearing what they're talking about. And Joyce DeWitt, Janet, just shuts him down right away. Like, "Mr. Furley, this is a private conversation." And he's just, "Well, I don't mind," and just sits there. And to me, that made me chuckle. All right, but there weren't many sort of moments with the Ralph Furley character and Don Knotts. I'm not taking anything away from Don Knotts and Suzanne Summers or anything from the show that didn't make me laugh. It just wasn't my scene. The whole ditzy character thing, whether it's a character you're playing on TV, in a movie, or even if it's a person who's not necessarily the sharpest knife in the drawer or the brightest bulb in the box, in real life, doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't make me laugh. It honestly just annoys me more. So in that regard, I always gravitated towards Norman Fell, Stanley Roper, and Audra Lindley and their characters as the landlords on Three's Company. I'm much more of a straight to the point, dry, kind of like sly, let's hit them with it, but then let's pull back and break the fourth wall kind of a deal. Because I just think that speaks more volumes as characters, as writers. The writing back in the early days of Three's Company, in my opinion, is just, it was better. That's in my opinion. And now that I think about it, I think Terry was Priscilla Barnes' character's first name, at least. Terry, I think she was a flight attendant of some sort at first. And I don't know, like, to be fair, they tried to replace Suzanne Summers with Jenny Lee Harrison, who played Suzanne Summers' TV cousin. And I don't know whether or not it worked as well, because she didn't stick around that long. I think she went from Three's Company to Dallas, and good for her, you know. The last thing I saw her in was the Ultimate Chopper infomercial, I think in and around like the early to mid 2000s with Chef Tony. And then I haven't really seen Priscilla Barnes in anything. Joyce DeWitt, I haven't really seen her in much of anything other than like going back through YouTube and seeing her in older commercials. But after like seeing her in Three's Company, there isn't something that jumps off the page at me that says, you know, this is Joyce DeWitt, she's in this, you should watch it. But Three's Company is just one of those shows, you know what I mean? And when it comes to Norman Fell and Audra Lindley and Ralph Furley, I'm more of a Norman Fell and Audra Lindley guy, fan type of person. That's what I like, and that's what I gravitate towards. I remember, like, after seeing Norman Fell and Audra Lindley in the early years and early episodes of Three's Company, like the first, like, four seasons. Sorry, pardon me. Like, within the first, say, 3-4 seasons, that made me, those characters, Audra Lindley's character and Norman Fell's characters, the Ropers, just made me laugh so much more than Ralph Furley did. I remember just, you know, browsing YouTube and going down the YouTube rabbit hole and seeing an old episode of Win, Lose, or Draw with Bert Convy where Norman Fell was on, and they were talking about like the success of Three's Company and how they were #1 in certain demographics, and just they kept getting renewed and super successful. And you can see why in the early days of that show, when the Ropers were the landlords and you had John Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, Suzanne Summers, and then after everybody left, it just kind of changed. And yes, it stayed on the air for a little while longer, but I don't think it was ever the same once, you know, the Ropers left and Christy left. It wasn't the same without Suzanne Summers, Audra Lindley, and Norman Fell. And for that reason, I'm more of a, like, the early years of Three's Company spoke to me more. Norman Fell, his comedy, his performance speaks to me more. Not taking anything away from anyone, but in my opinion, Norman Fell was the better landlord. He made me laugh more. He made me enjoy the show more. Don Knotts, not so much. Ralph Furley, not so much. But there it is, my opinion on who was the better character, who was the better actor, who made me laugh more, what I liked about each of the characters, the actors, and what have you. All this Three's Company gift of gab, all wrapped up in one. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Yo Nostalgia. Please do comment, like, share, and subscribe. We are available on my official website, LeighTDickey.com, YouTube under Leigh Dickey TV, and in audio form, of course, on LeighTDickey.com, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever podcasts are available. Please do rate us 5 stars and leave reviews too, if you would, please and thank you. Send your comments, questions, and topic requests, and anything else to YONOSTALGIASHOW@gmail.com. Follow along on social media at YONOSTALGIASHOW. Remember that new episodes of Yo Nostalgia are released every other Tuesday on my official website, LeighTDickey.com, YouTube under Leigh Dickey TV, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever podcasts are available. Again, please comment, like, share, and subscribe. I've been Leigh Dickey. This wraps up another episode of Yo Nostalgia. Thanks again for tuning in, watching, listening, whichever way and whichever form you're tuning into this from. Thank you all again. But I've been Leigh Dickey. This has been Yo Nostalgia, and we will see you again in 2 weeks for a brand new episode of Yo Nostalgia.